Hey there, thank you for joining. I hope you're doing really well today. Today we're going to be going through the LinkedIn Everything System version 3. If you've been here before, you can most likely skip forward to the outreach personalization system and also the automatic reply to comment system, both for posts and for your own comments. But I will be going through other strategies throughout the other aspects of the system as well that I've been utilizing recently, which have been working over the last month or so since the last video has been launched. And I will be covering various other angles and systems that I've been using to make sure that this is as effective as possible. I've been having a lot of great success for me and my clients in utilizing this system to book calls. If I zoom out a bit, there we go. You can see that the shape of the system overall has taken a new foothold. For those that are new here, if you do wish to purchase this system, you can do so down via Gumroad. I'll have it going for $18 this month. It has been and will continue to double every single month and until I see that the system maybe no longer sells or doesn't have any need for an increase in value. But for the time being, as it's a one-off system, whereby if you set this up a way, you can perform unlimited LinkedIn automations, unlimited actions on LinkedIn without restrictions, beating any other system out there for a one-off payment and to be running very cost effectively on your own servers, on your own n8n system. I consider this to be incredibly valuable, especially if the ultimate goal of this system is to bring in business for yourself. In the end, this system is designed to create and generate phone calls for you so that you don't have to spend time on LinkedIn. You can be spending time just speaking to clients and actually doing the work that you want to, not having to go through a social media platform and spend hours trying to contact people and get people booked into your diary. For those that already have the system, you will of course be getting an email with the fully updated version for yourself. If you're a part of Simon Scrape's group, which was this initially inspired by, this is included in that subscription due to the arrangement that I have with Simon himself. If you also want to get a number of automations, you could perhaps join that group as well. I highly recommend it. It's incredibly valuable and there's a lot of content there that I have used to help further my own business and the business of my clients as well. From meta ad scraping to SEO systems to this system, of course, as well. But if you prefer, you can just do a one-off payment and purchase this system on Gumroad. Their choice is entirely up to you. Included is also, of course, the Airtable system. This is built alongside with Airtable. So we've got a full database here for every single part of what is within the system itself. So here we're utilizing n8n, Airtable, and Unipile. Unipile is a direct API connection to LinkedIn. It also does Instagram, WhatsApp, and a few other things as well. It's incredibly useful. I highly recommend. Transparently, I feel that Phantom Buster is probably using this system as well to build out their platform. The limitation there is that you are getting restricted on the amount of accounts and actions that you can do and time that you can utilize. With this system, there are no such restrictions. You have essentially unlimited actions. The only restrictions are based upon the LinkedIn account level that you have, which I do have a full video on, should you wish to learn more about how to run this safely. I'll put it in the description as well. So without further ado, let's start. First off, we've got the search. And so this is the same as if you went to a LinkedIn profile and you simply just searched in CEO, for example, and we went to people, and we brought up the filters and we added the filters, and then we were just copy and pasting the people from here. All right. So this, I'm putting them into an Excel sheet. So this is the same as that action. It's not viewing the profiles. It's purely just getting their top level information from this search. You can also do a sales navigator search should you wish. The choice is entirely up to you. And so here we are getting the cursor information. And this is incredibly important to store because this allows you to start from the right place. You can see here it's going up a number, 0, 10, 20 page, you know, how many per page. And so then that's the total amount within that search. And so if we just press play here, it'll then pull through the highest stuff. And if we go into this, you can see we have the URL down here and we have the cursor value. And what this allows us to do is you can see on the left-hand side, we've got the start, which is 20 and 10. And then if I scroll down to the bottom on the right-hand side, you can see the start is now 30 and 10. And so this cursor allows it to go to the next page every single time. Without it, it will just keep on starting from the same page. So really important you have that. And of course, we're pulling in our ID and Unipile account numbers within this as well. And it will then update them into the Airtable. I've just got it set to go into lead lists, as you can see here. And it's super important that we make sure we collect this ID, which is this unique number or letters and numbers for each account. And this will allow you to do any number of actions upon that account. View their profile, search their posts, engage on their content, send them a message, whatever it is. So super important that you are collecting this ID here, as it will allow you to do everything you want within the system without any limitations. It also reduces the amount of times you have to view their profile. Without it, you'll have to keep on viewing their profile to get that information to enable Unipile to work. If you pull that straight away, you're not going to need to do this anymore, and you'll be able to do the actions without viewing their profile. And then, of course, we're updating the cursor. As you can see here, they will then update it in here. For this, I would highly recommend, as it's doing 10 per time. Previously, I was setting it up to run so that it would do, let's say, 100 searches in one go with a little wait in between. But transparently, you're only going to need max, I say 20, 30 leads per day, maybe less, depending on who you're targeting, how good your outreach is, how good your messaging is, so on and so forth. And typically, I have this set up to run 2 to 3 times a day per client. So it will run at the intervals. These are random times, of course, as well. I would always make sure everything's running at random and then keeping it within your account level. If you've got a free account, 10, 20 per day is more than enough, and I wouldn't go above that. Could cause some suspicions. If you have a paid account on LinkedIn, LinkedIn Premium, you could probably go up to 100. If you have Sales Navigator, you can probably get up to 200 per day if you really want to. Not that there is a need. I would say more than 20, 30 per day, then you probably need to be looking at your targeting and your messaging and your outreach, as there may be some misalignment there. So next, we have LinkedIn Get Engagement. And the way the engagement works is we can actually get this from any profile. Obviously, in this case, I'm utilizing it for my own engagement. But if you're interested in collecting another person's profile, you can actually collect their posts as well. The only restrictions it does have is you can only get 100 reactions and 100 comments. Now, for most people, this is fairly fine, to be honest, because very rarely do posts on LinkedIn go above 100 reactions and 100 comments. It obviously does happen, but for the most part, people are, let's say, within the 30 to 50 mark or even less. And I would say that how much engagement you're getting in your posts is not a reflection of how well your business is doing. I've seen people getting hundreds and hundreds of engagements on their content and not actually having a successful business after speaking with them. And I've seen people getting almost no engagement on their content and earning hundreds of thousands. So how well posts are doing is not a reflection of how well a business is doing. But nonetheless, you do want to be capturing people who are engaging in your content, because they are people that you should be converting into your business. They should be converting into something down the line, whatever that may be. And so here I've got this in LinkedIn Leads. And again, I've just got my URL here, and then I've got my ID. Super important you get this. You can, if you haven't got it, you can just do one search on your own profile via the Get Provider ID here, and then you can get your own ID and anyone else's ID, of course. As mentioned, we now have, if you wanted to do the post search for all of these people up here that we just did the search for, you could do that as well. So we're going to get their posts, and we're going to split them out into reactions and comments, and then feed them into the lead list. Typically, I would feed them into a separate lead list called Lead List Engage. So these are people who have engaged on my content. or for my client, for example, I would feed them into the list for content that has been engaged on their side. And that way we can send out a personalized message based upon the content they engaged with and be like, hey, thank you for engaging on my content. I really appreciate you. Is there anything that caught your eye? Would you like to have a chat? Something as simple as that. And of course, I've got a node here for collecting the post information as well, should you wish. It does get all the information, date, reactions, repost, impressions, you name it. It'll capture all the information should you wish. And I've just got a little content tab over here to throw that into. So really straightforward. And again, I've set this to run automatically so that it is pulling on a daily basis. It's up to you how often you want to run this. There's not really any restrictions on this, to be honest, because you're not really viewing profiles. You're just scraping. It's as if you went to the profile itself and just opened up the engagement and copy and pasted all the people that engaged on that content, which for whatever reason, they don't consider the same as searching. If you had a competitor out there or someone else out there that is doing something of a very similar brand to you, and you saw a really successful post, you could probably scrape that post and be like, hey, I have the same product but cheaper. Oh, I have a better version of the product they're trying to sell you. I don't know. There could be some funny underselling tactics you could employ there if you wanted to. Would be a little bit cheeky, but hey, the game's a game, is what it is. Anyway, so that's getting engagement. Then, of course, we have check and replies. And check and replies actually works in two ways. We have one which does it from the chat ID themselves. And so if I go into my own lead list, actually, we can see in here that I'm collecting chat IDs. And this is like when I send a message to someone, they will get an ID directly sent to them. And then this allows me to check if they have replied to my message. So really straightforward. It'll then group those people and then it'll update them and then put them into a lead list. I've obviously got them into a hot list. So I'd highly recommend creating a lead list reply list where everyone can go in there. Everyone who's replied to your content can go in there and you can make sure you are perhaps engaging on them, sending them another message, seeing what happens. So I'd highly recommend you have a hot lead list for people who are replying to your messages, and so you can collect them and do further engagement with them. And the second way, which I'm actually using more and running daily, is this one, which checks all your messages. And so here, I've got it running 3 times a day. It'll check 100 messages at a time, and it'll then pull them through and then update the record should they have replied to a message. And the reason this is super important is this only works once you've got the chat ID, and you can only get the chat ID once you have sent them a first message. You can't get it from the connection request, and you can't get it any other method. So you do want to check, for example, if someone replies to your connection request and they say, hey, yeah, I'd love to have a phone call. And then 2 days later, they get an automated message after you've booked a phone call. It's not going to look great. So this will automatically check to see if they've replied and then update the records accordingly. Really straightforward. And again, it's going to be pulling through all the people that have replied and then putting them into the hot list. So really straightforward. And so you can see what it's doing is it's changing them to replied. And then that way, they're not going to get another message from me. And you'll see all these people that haven't got a chat ID. These are people who replied to my connection message straight away. Easy way for me to know. And then I can, if I haven't already replied to them, I can go in here and I can quickly go through and send them a quick reply. It's an easy way to not have to spend so much time on the platform and actually just engage with the people who are active on there and actually sending messages. And I would recommend with this, you can send like 2 to 3 messages after someone. Sometimes people forget to reply. It's fine. It's normal. People are busy. You don't get downhearted if someone takes 5 replies, it's not the same as texting your girlfriend or texting your love interest or whatever, or someone you're dating. It doesn't matter how many messages you send them. Like, obviously they're at the point where there's no point anymore, but 3 or 4 messages, 5, even up to 5, I would say is totally okay. Unless if they tell you to stop, then of course you stop. Anyway, so that is checking replies. And this actually will feed into the systems later, and we'll go into that further down the line. But next we have, let's say, the main beast of this system, which is the LinkedIn outreach. Alrighty, outreach system. And this bit I've had to do in my second day as the surf was pumping, so left to do the thing that I love. As you can see, I now have a headset and a vest on. But anywho, let's get back into this. So with this system, the main difference now is one, I have removed the profile checking node, which is the get provider one, where possible. Simply to reduce the amount of times you're viewing a profile so that you don't approach your limits, so that potentially you can do more actions on your account per day. If you feel yourself getting to the limits, or if you notice that you're hitting the request limit or view profile limit, I highly recommend doing this as well. I've yet to get to those limits, but I've done it anyway, just for the sake of making it, you could say, cleaner. For this to work, you do, of course, need the ID that I recommended. If you're not getting it in the pulling it from Unipile itself, from the Unipile search, and you're getting a lead from elsewhere, you can also get it here as well. And you do need to use the get provider here, because here we're checking to see if we're connected. So this is, of course, going to be done anyway. And I have added it into here. You can see I've got ID in here now. And this is then going to record that information so that it can be utilized later. Now, the main difference up here is I've added a not active node. And this is different to the ignore one, in that these are leads which have not connected with me and not sent me a message, not done anything essentially. So their profile is, you could say, inactive, or they're just looking at the connection request and they just haven't accepted it and they're just letting it build up, whatever it is. Therefore, they're essentially useless to me, and I don't want to be consistently checking their profile. So here I have a date node, and basically I've set it to 2 months. And so if they go past 2 months, they'll then get changed to not active. So if you go into my one here, you'll see here I have a load now which are set to not active, which is, again, it's different from ignored. So these are people who have ignored me. These are people who have just chosen not to take any action whatsoever. And I'm using the date updated column over here. This will be included in the new, in the most recent up-to-date Airtable database. But if you need to add this yourself, you simply go on the plus icon, you scroll down, and you go click on last modified time, and then call it whatever you want. And this is going to be incredibly useful for a lot of actions later down the line as well. So I do highly recommend that you add the last modified time. As said, I've called it date updated here. It's up to you what you want to call it. And then this will allow you to utilize that, whether or not they're active or not. And again, yeah, I've got it here as well. If they're set to pending and they've been left on pending for a long time, again, not active, even if they've ignored me, because it's just pointless for me to be, for any system to be checking on them. They might as well be set to this left. Could probably set to be hidden as well. Obviously, I have kept them in the list because if I'm doing fresh pools of searches, I don't want to be accidentally putting them into my list again and then throwing them through the whole system. So I have left them there for now. If I was to do a fresh pool with a different search, I could probably then delete them. Then you'll see on the return send connection, I have removed the get provider node, and this is because we don't need it, and we don't need these 3. Essentially, you can see all 3 of them I've removed because we've got the provider ID. I know it's a person, so you can basically just go straight to send connection requests. And then within that, I have attached the engage after invite. So this is a small part of the engagement system, which means that every single time I send out a connection request, their content, if they have done a post and it's not a repost and the date's within 5 days, so they're relatively active on LinkedIn, it will do a comment on their post and like their post as well. So thus increasing the chances of them sending me a message and me getting a call in, which again is the ultimate goal of the system, is to get calls booked in your diary so that you can hopefully close them. One thing which I'm going to start doing as well, which will probably come in the V4 of the system, which is going to involve more strategies that I implement automatically, is A/B testing. of the connection request. Now, right now, my invite is very much set. I've just got a set invite message that I'm using, and it seems to be working fine for me. I do have a relatively strong profile though, so this could be part of that reason as well. Maybe that if I was doing personalized invite connection requests based upon the post or their profile themselves, I would get even more. And so to do this, you could I could set up a separate workflow doing personalized outreach, or I would simply set up another if node, and I could send half of them through this way and then have a personalized message system for them. So that's something to be looked into. And ideally, I want to be doing this off one list. I don't want to be creating another list. I also don't want to be creating another workflow for it, as that's quite a lot of work to set this system up and then set it up again for a different messaging system. I feel if I can set it up so that it can A/B test within the system itself, this would be way more beneficial. If you have any ideas on that or thoughts on that, feel free to share in the comments. I'm more than happy to test things on your behalf as well. And for those that haven't watched the previous videos on this system, what this is doing, this is returning all people who you sent an invite to that are pending, and then it's checking them through the system. It's turning all the ones that are checked. So these are fresh leads, people who haven't been checked. And then again, checking to see if they've been connected. If they haven't been connected, it will then move some of them over to send a request to. So automatically select some at random to be sent a request to. And once that request has been accepted, they'll then go to the next stages. If they take some time to accept the message, they go into this node here, which is called the Let's See, which goes from here up pending, and they get moved to, here we are, update Let's See, which will then delay them for a couple of days. It'll just wait for 2 days, just when they were last updated from Let's See. And then once those 2 days have passed, it will then move them to pending. And this means that you're not checking pending profiles every single day. It would be ridiculous to do. Obviously, if someone accepts and then sends you a message straight away, they'll get moved to replied via the other workflows, via this workflow up here. So you don't have to worry about that. But if they accept during those days, you're not sending them another message because you would have already sent them one from the connection request. And if they get their message day later than the following system, this doesn't have to be so robotic that everything has to happen 2 days and 4 days. Can be variations within it, which again, I believe keeps it a little bit more human. No one's perfect. Everyone has delays and systems that they don't do at exactly the same time. And I feel this works in that. As mentioned, of course, everything has random intervals now. Again, to keep it more human, nothing is happening at exactly the same time within the schedule itself. And then, of course, within the action itself as well. From there, we have the engagement system. And the engagement system, actually, I have kept largely the same. Hasn't really had any problems to date. Sometimes it doesn't get all the comments, and sometimes it will double engage on a post, which is a little bit frustrating. I've mitigated this with dates and reposts and so on. And I'm going to be combining it with the reply to comments section, which below, as there is a further way to make sure you get all the comments from selected posts. Again, if you're new to this LinkedIn system, what this is doing is it's getting everyone who has been moved onto a hot list. So here we have this replies. This is everyone that has replied to my messages that have been sent out. And so you can see here, I have that tracked here. If they basically get changed to reply here, they get moved into this list here. And the thing is, when people reply to me, it means that they're active on the system. It means that they are partaking in LinkedIn, which to me means they are potentially they are a warm lead at least. They are someone who I can work with. They are someone that is using the LinkedIn platform, and therefore they are a potential lead. So they will get moved into the reply list. And then this is sending them through an automatic engagement through the return complete, changing them to engaged. Once it'll then get all the engaged people. I'll then get their user ID. Now here, I don't need to get their provider ID transparently. I could just be engaging straight on the profile because I have their provider ID, but I am leaving this there purely for the engagement ones only, simply because if I was to imagine myself going through LinkedIn and engaging on people's profiles, I would look at their profile first, and then I would go to their posts, and I would engage. So I've kept this to mimic human behavior rather than just going straight to their posts, which could be done if you wanted to. So this could be. Anyway, it will then get their post, check if it's a repost. It will then check the date. With it here, I've got it 3 days. Sometimes I have it 5 or 2, depends on how I've got it set up in which client and which system. I think on my own, I have it at 5 now. It will get the comments. It will check if you've commented. If you have commented, it will then delay them. If not, it will then send them to this AI agent, which will then craft a comment for you. Highly recommend you create your own one of these, input your own bugs, mitigate things that it can't say, make sure you tell it what it can and can't use, make sure you tell it a little bit about your life so it can create relatable comments based upon the post itself. And obviously I want to keep it towards a post and limit the amount of words you can use within a comment as well. So for me, for example, I've kept it within 10 words. Otherwise it'll write entire paragraphs, which probably don't want. This would be a bit too much. And then once that's been completed, or delay, once they're delayed, hey, I've got to set to 5 days. So if they've already had an engagement on that post, it'll wait 5 days and then it'll update them to and so this means that I'm not going to be engaging on someone's content more than every 5 days. You could probably set this depending on how you want to do it, like transparently once a month, once every 2 weeks is probably enough for someone who's warm. I've been testing this out to see what the impact is. And I think I might change this to once every 2 weeks, that it does it per profile. Again, it's up to you how often you want to run this, as it can impact how often or how likely people are to, again, reach out to you to then book a call in with you or learn about your services, see how you can help them, and ultimately allow you to bring in some business. Then we have the first of the new workflows, which are included in the version 3. And we have reply to comments. And we have 2 variations of this as they work in slightly separate ways. We've got one, which is your own comment. So through this engagement system, I'm obviously sending out lots of comments and lots of likes, whatever. They're getting a lot of replies, and transparent. I didn't want to have to reply to all of these comments. It was a little bit much. It was great, the comments it was producing, and it was great, the replies I was getting. I was quite happy with them because they were leading to interesting conversations, and I could use them within messages themselves as well. But I didn't want to have to go through every single one. And especially if you're doing bigger profiles, if you're working with someone who's getting hundreds or more engagements on a post, that can be quite a lot to go through and do a little reply. Maybe you want to automate that. So here, all it's doing is just going to be getting my own profile. And so here, for example, if I get comments, I've just put my own profile. But you could do this for any profile transparently, but it gets the comments from that specific profile. And don't need this if you have collected the ID in here, but for the sake of this at the start, I didn't put the ID in. So you don't need it if you don't want to. It'll then list all the comments that you have created. It'll then split them out. It'll then check if they are a reply of you. And then it's going to be getting the comment replies. So every comment that I've made, let's see if I can run it up to this point anyway. So you can see here, it's got 103 comments. You can set date parameters and stuff as well, but I'm just doing it so it's just getting the last 100 comments or so. And here it's going to check if they have a reply to them. So this means if it's got a reply counter of 1, this means that someone has replied to my comments. However, it won't show what the reply is. And so therefore we have additional node here, which is get the comment replies. And so it works in a very similar way, but here what we're doing is we're actually getting the comment ID. And if you get the comment ID, this allows you to get the replies that have been done to your own comments. So we can see here that 32 people have given me replies, and then it will get all the replies to those comments. So then we'll have here, so here we can see like Oliver and yes, awareness is key. And then it's such a beautiful journey in self-expression. And then I've set up a node to like the comment. Now, if you wanted to, I haven't done this simply because generally speaking, unless I'm really interested, I wouldn't probably do another comment. Like I have to imagine my own time. I'm just not going to have time to go through and reply to all these comments with another comment. That's just, it's almost too much of a conversation. By that point, I want to be in the DMs, I want to be talking to them personally, and I want to be getting them on the phone. But if you did want to set up an automatic comment reply, be whatever that is, you could of course connect to the AI agent, draft a reply for each of these comments, set up how you want it to do. Here's the comments replied to, here's the comments made. So this is all in here. So you could, again, you just change this to suit your own style, and then it will do the comment as well. So really straightforward, just saving time, just making it so that you can just, in my case, I'm just liking all of these people comments. And I do occasionally look at them as well myself in case there's something interesting that comes up. But transparently, I don't have time to be going through them all. You could say the system's too good. Anyway, then we have any post. So obviously, if you're doing posts regularly on LinkedIn and you want to be liking the comments on your post automatically, or replying to those comments automatically, or set comments, for example, like maybe you want to filter, you could create some sort of filter so that if they just do a really basic comment like, this is amazing, or woo, or whatever they say, you can set up an automatic reply being like, thank you, with that at. Or you could just set up so that they get a like on it. However, personally speaking, I would probably, if I was doing a post, I would probably try and engage on as many comments as possible myself. But I do understand that when it does get to those large scale accounts, where hundreds of comments are coming in, then having an automatic way to reply to some of those comments can, of course, be incredibly beneficial. So anyway, it's then going to get the post. It's going to get all your posts. So you can choose how many here. I've got it set to 1, but you could set it up to as many as you'd like. I'd imagine you probably give this a schedule similar to when your posts are going out. So let's say your post goes out on a Tuesday at 4 p.m. You would set this to go off at 4:30 p.m. So then it will get all the comments from that post. It will split them out. And you probably have it setting off every half an hour to an hour while the post is live, just so that, it's getting consistent engagement. It will then check if there's a reply. And if there has been a reply, it'll then check if there's been a reaction, and then it will get the additional replies to that reaction. So let's say you've done a comment, or they've done a comment on your post, and then you've replied to that. You don't want to be doing another engagement on it. So this is going to be checking your replies and your engagement on the post itself. And then it will get if they've replied again, it will get that as well. So here, these two nodes is getting the additional replies that have been made to the comments on your post. So like the third one along. And yeah, if they've not had any reaction and not had any replies to the comments, then it, of course, like them. And again, if you wanted to, you could set up an AI agent to then automatically reply to those comments should you wish. So pretty straightforward. You could obviously set it. It would require some tinkering. You'd have to make sure that it is aligned to yourself or the person you're setting it up for. I personally, for example, I have this one, my own one. I have this one set up to run every single day, a couple of times a day, just to check all the comments that have been made in reply to my comment, so that it likes them all, because they'll get a notification when I like their comment. So this is like an additional reminder, like, hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm here, buy my services. Anyway, so that is the reply to comments. Now, If you have any questions on that, by the way, feel free to ask in the comments. If you have any improvements, suggestions, ideas, again, please let me know, and I'm more than happy to go through and test them. Version 4, again, is going to have a lot more strategical implementations of this system, such as A/B testing. And it's all going to be combining together to create something that actually could be even more effective than what it is right now. And last but not least, we have the personalized message systems. Now, there are quite a few, let's say, different variations of this, and that's because depending on the client, it really does change how you go about this. At the top here, I literally just have a first message and engagement system. So this doesn't actually involve anything changing within the message itself. That has just been pulled from Airtable. So you get these messages over here, that's been pulled here. But then it is then again, similar to the connection request, when I send them their first message, they are getting an additional engagement on their profile if I've not already done it already. And so again, hopefully increasing the chances of them booking a call with me. So far, this seems to be working really well. My diary has become quite full with people wanting to speak with me, which is fantastic. And I am having similar impacts on the people that I'm working with and clients I'm doing this for as well, especially within the C-suite space, which is mainly what I'm targeting, as ultimately that's where the money is. And so that's what this system is aiming to get you in front of. Then we have the personalized connection request. So this is taking the connection request system over here. So, this line over here, and all it's done is we're getting the provider ID and we're using the LinkedIn sections. And this is what allows you to actually pull all of the information from their profile. So their about, their summary, past job history, their testimonials if you want as well. It has it all there. You can only do a limited amount of these, so don't do this for every single account. Don't do it on the get provider initial one. I would just do it on the accounts that have accepted your connection request, as that obviously keeps the number down to a smaller amount. You do need to have the random set quite high, so I've got it here up to anything from 31 seconds up to 50 seconds. Don't go less than that. You're then going to grab the posts, and it will then update all the information in Airtable. And so what I've done is I've just created additional columns whereby if they have provided additional information, I'll be capturing, in my case, I'm just capturing their post, their about section, and their description, so that then it'll be fed into this AI agent, as you can see here, and it will create then a personalized message for them. This is a very simple prompt here. Transparently, I've got this connected to Gemini just simply because I'm forced to pay for it. I might as well use it if I'm paying for it. Thank you, Google Workspace. Anyway, pretty much any AI LLM, so Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini can do it. And they've probably already been trained on tons of people using them for LinkedIn messages. So you don't really need to give it much information for it to be able to craft something that is going to be relatively good based upon this information provided. Especially if it's just a basic connection request, you can keep it quite simple. And then, of course, it will send the invite and do the rest. Same as always. We then have two other ones here. This is both on the first message and the second message. And what you will have noticed here is actually I've removed the wait nodes completely and I've replaced them all with if date nodes. And so this is all from the date updated. So this means we don't need to use the wait nodes, which is considerably better. Doesn't cause any delays, issues. Doesn't mean if I stop the workflow, there are going to be some executions still going that I need to go and delete because I need to change something or something hasn't worked. It's sent out the wrong message, whatever. This means I can just stop it and it'll stop. Again, don't need this if you don't want to. You can remove it if you're collecting the ID. You can get rid of that. It's going to get their posts again. This is obviously using the LinkedIn sections. So we're getting updated their information. It's up to you whether or not you want to update the information at this point. Mainly because you already would have captured it up here on the connection request. And this is going to be going 2 days later. And it's incredibly unlikely that they would have done anything in the last 2 days. But getting a fresh post, always useful. It'll then update the record, it'll then do for the AI agent, it'll then obviously send a personalized message to them. Again, I've kept this quite simple. What I would say in here is give like an example message of something that works within your sector, so it can use it below as an example. I would also say if you give further information about yourself as well within here, so whatever services you provide, who you are as a person, just don't have to make it too complicated, but just give it enough so that it has context to understand how the message should be. Generally speaking, though, you're aiming to start conversations, and this seems to be doing that. Now, on to the second message. The main difference here is we're actually checking for further replies. Now, you can't do this before this stage because you need the chat ID. And so you can see here, I'm collecting the chat ID. And this only happens if they have had a first message. You can't get it otherwise. So generally speaking, I'm checking their replies a few times a day with this system over here, and that is doing a fair enough job. But occasionally it does miss one. And do you know what? It's fine if it just sends one message and they've sent a reply and it sends a message by accident. This is not, but if it sends two messages after they said no, thank you, or whatever, you've got a call booked in with them and then it sends another message, this is not good. It looks very unprofessional. It looks super automated. It doesn't look human at all. And it could potentially lose you the business. So here, what I've got in the second message, it's going to be getting their messages with that chat ID, splitting it out, and then it's going to be checking if they have replied in any way. And if so, then they'll be updated to replied. And then they won't go through the system again, and that's that. If they haven't replied, same thing. It's going to get the posts. It's going to group them at this point because essentially it was splitting them out because obviously all the messages here were being split out. So we wanted to then group them back together again. It's then going to update them, and we are again going to be creating a second message. So here you would just update this and you would put it in, you say LinkedIn second message after the first message. Here's an example. Keep it straightforward. So it's not going to do too much. You're limiting the word count. So here I've kept it to 150 characters. Your choice in how long you want that message to be. Don't send long messages to people. It's not going to work. People don't read them. People don't have time. Keep it short. Keep it to the point. Let people know what you are. And they'll reply if they see the value, if they see that they can benefit from your services. And I will say at this point, you will not always get favorable responses. You will, of course, get some people that respond to you in weird and wonderful and odd ways. But in the end, that comes down to how the world is. The world is a mixture of love and hate, and you can't sit in the middle of the gray. That's just not going to get you any business. There are some people that are going to love you when you reach out to the system. There are some people that are going to hate you. And this is how it is. You've got to expect that. It's just sales in a nutshell, to be honest. It's not all roses and petals. And of course, look, I put this engagement system here afterwards. It's the same as what's going on over here and down here as well. But I, of course, for example, have this engagement system going off after the first message and after the second message. Basically, any single interaction whereby I believe I can increase the chances or likelihood of them replying to my messages, I'm going to do that. Like, why wouldn't you? Now, the third iteration, which actually is slightly different, and this is a start of, let's say, A/B testing, but also it's more of a protection mechanism. And how you use this does vary upon who you are targeting. So what this is doing is it's getting the people who have connected. This one's just done for the first message, but you could, of course, recreate this for the second message as well. It'll then check if the post is a repost. Now, if someone has done a repost, generally speaking, you're probably not going to use that to then create a comment on, because it may be a repost on something that is completely unrelated to who they are as a person, and it may not relate to them as business. However, this is only in the instance whereby they are not too active on LinkedIn. If they're very active on LinkedIn and they're doing posts, every other day or a couple of times a week or even once a week, this makes sense. Then you want to be only doing a personalized message based upon their posts they are doing themselves. However, If they are someone who is not so active on LinkedIn, like a VP, like a CPO, like a whatever CEO, whatever, anyone who's high up within a company, they may be reposting their own company's posts or their employees' posts, and they may send something nice from that, which you do want to then send a personalized message on. If they've done a repost of one of their employees getting a promotion, and they're like, congrats on this employee for getting this promotion, you've seen your amazing work, super excited to see what you do in XYZ now, whatever. You may want to do a nice little personalized message saying, really lovely to see you're supporting your employees, great to see how things are publicly, would love to learn about you more. Something like that. So again, first message, this one's got with the posting in, this one's got it without the posting in. So it's up to you how you want to use this. Again, it's very situational depending on who you're going after, what you're going after. Within all of this, I am going to be setting up A/B systems, whereby if you have a lead list and you want to send half of them a fixed standardized message, for example here, or you have two different messages that you want to test at the same time, which you could do, and you want to see which one is more likely to acquire you business, then I'm going to set it up as such so that you probably have to create connection request as 1, connection request as 2. Same for these, repeat those, first 1, first 2. And you have it going through here, setting up a random amount so that X go through number 1, X go through number 2. And then you can see which one, has more replies. And then you could then double down on that message and then see what works. Again, you could do this with personalized messages. So if you want to do one sequence, you've got fixed messages, you've got one sequence where it does personalized messages, you could send them down different lines. Again, I think just having a fixed amount at random is the fairest way to do that. If it's all the same lead list and you're targeting the same people, and then just to see how much of a positive impact it has on your own business. So A/B testing is going to be a big thing. I'm also going to be implementing other strategies that I utilize as well in an automated way. So this system is going to be moving more towards what are automated strategies that you can implement that work on LinkedIn that I've seen working not just on my profile, but lots of different clients' profiles, colleagues, even some friends I've actually even helped set up on this system as well. And I now have, let's say, a far more valuable pool of data which I can use from. If you are already using the system yourself, please let me know how it's been going, what the results have been on your side. I'm more than happy to learn and understand how it can be improved further. Obviously, all of this can be found within, if you want to learn about it more, can all be found within the Unipile documentation. That's what is powering this system for the most part. Obviously, n8n, Airtable, and then the Unipile itself. And as said, if you want to build this system from scratch, there is a few other videos which do go into the details of how you can start building out yourself. But if you want to skip all that and you just want to save yourself loads of hours and time and testing and experimentation, then there is a Gumroad link in the description and you can now get it for $18, as mentioned at the start of the video. And within that, you'll get all the updates and improvements and other things that I do with this system. And of course, if you have any questions on it, you're welcome to contact me and I'm more than happy to answer. But yeah, otherwise, thank you very much. I really appreciate you and looking forward to, seeing what you do with the system.